The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Issues of the day under T-Radar.
Let's do issues of the day with T-Radar. G'day there, T-Radar.
Wammo, good morning to you.
Nice to see you this morning.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. Now, first up, let's talk about these castaways. I don't know anything about this. These castaways that have been discovered.
Yes, look, there's been a couple this week. You always, I guess, you have that sort of lovely Robinson Crusoe thing. You're on a desert island and you're making do. And I guess a lot of people have seen, you know, those TV reality shows, Survivor and whatnot, where it makes it look a little bit even grimmer than it is. But I suspect being castaway, it would be absolutely dreadful. They found 4 this week on an island near the Cook Islands. Their fishing boat had gone aground or sunk or something like that, and they sort of discovered them. And they were all okay. But the worst one, there was an island group somewhere where the people living there rely upon ships to come through and bring them food, and the ship had been delayed. So this random yachtsman thought, I'm going to call into this island and see what it was like. And there was all these people there, all starving to death because they had no food, no way of contacting the mainland. So they had to organise special relief supplies. They were living off coconuts and fish, which I guess a lot of people would say, well, what a wonderful diet, coconuts and fish. But if it's all you've got for weeks, you would very quickly get sick of that. Yeah,
you'd get some kind of. Would you get off a diet like that? Would you get the scurvy?
No, you wouldn't. I don't think, because I don't. Well, it's what's scurvy? Vitamin C.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's vitamin C in a coconut.
Probably not.
Probably not. No, but you know, a lot of sashimi and various bits and pieces. But the most astounding thing is, how could people have forgotten about them? Surely there must be someone whose job it is to go, things to do this month. Remember to send food to an entire island full of people.
Yeah. And it's got a landing strip. It doesn't necessarily have to be by boat either. They've got a landing strip. But you've got to wonder about these little places so far out there in the Pacific, and they're only atolls. They're so low-lying. You can imagine one wee tsunami, and it would take us months to realise that a whole population had been wiped out.
Just sort of, it's just amazing, really, just sort of living on the cusp of the earth. Quite probably a lovely place to visit, but yeah, and you wonder how many people are there going, geez, I really, look, it is beautiful, but this is really boring. I would quite like to leave here. I'm constantly, particularly, I guess, if you were, tsunami or large wave phobic, it would not be the greatest place in the world to be.
It kind of raises more questions than it answers, like, okay, what do they do for fresh water on a place like that? You'd have to try and collect everything that you can when it rains, if it rains.
Yes, and I guess if you had, like, big tarpaulins and things, they'd get a crusting of salt on them. So I wonder what their with all that salt around, I wonder what their sort of their heart and everything is like, with the excess salt.
See, that's the sort of thing we should be sending journalists to. We should be sending them around the world.
That's right. And, people always have this urge to sort of get away. My favourite getaway story of the week, actually, when you go to a posh hotel and they have the valet, they park your car and you come back and they give you your keys and off you go. In Australia, Melbourne, there was a large sort of posh hotel there, and someone brought the Ferrari up, and the valet gave the keys to a dude who was in a pair of track pants and a sweatshirt. And you wouldn't have thought, maybe the Ferrari driver's slumming it. The guy got into the Ferrari, drove away. Turns out, not his Ferrari. 6.5 hours later, they finally caught up with him. He'd been on an enormous sort of ticky tour around the place. And I thought, in as much as you sort of go, oh, car thieves bad, you can kind of understand why he would have done that.
It's like being given more than your fair share of change.
That's right. And what do? Do you hand it back, and do you say, oh, do you? I do. I go, oh, you've overcharged me.
Yeah, I'm kind of too
honest. And I often always say, oh, you've undercharged me as well.
Yeah. Do you? You do go back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, mostly. Unless it's just a few cents here and there. But if it's if it's an amount, I go back and go, oh, look, because a lot of people, if it's a small business particularly, you think, look, that's a small business. I'm effectively robbing them, and I don't like robbers, so I wouldn't want to be one. So no, I'll go back and go, look, you haven't charged me enough, and here's the extra amount.
Because a lot of people would say, oh, it was their fault. They should have charged me the correct amount. So they're the losers.
Which is all well and good until you make a similar mistake, and when it becomes your fault, you can't really then go and blame the customer. Terrible.
Talking about money and crime, laundering at Sky City.
Look, Sky City, apparently the place to go to launder your pee money. And what they do, there was a guy that's just been jailed for it. $20 million they laundered through the pokies machines. They were just they had this team of people who would sit there and put the money in. And you think, hang on a second, or do they just put it in and then immediately withdraw it again? No, apparently what they do is they put it in and they play it. And the pokey machines, the figure is excuse me, something like about 12% the casino takes. So effectively they're saying, well, if we were paying tax on it, we'd probably be paying 39 cents in the dollar.
Yeah.
But by laundering it through the casino and thus sort of legitimizing the money, we're only paying 12% over the average of it. So they just have teams of people there feeding the money in, and out it all comes, and off they go, tickety-boo.
So these guys are caught at the end of the day?
They were caught, yes. They were hanging out, and one of them I think was using the high rollers room as his office, essentially.
Brilliant.
And also the thing about the casino, there's cameras everywhere, so they could see that these two guys knew each other, that they'd met, and there they were making phone calls. They were on their wireless, organising P deals. Meanwhile, downstairs, attached to the machines, are their little minions feeding in, upwards of $20 million.
I know these guys are. I know these guys are bad buggers, but it's programs like The Sopranos and stuff that make you think, damn, these guys are cool.
Yeah, I guess there is always that veneer of suave respectability about the big time criminals, but really they're not. They're just probably, I imagine, quite vicious and horrible people.
Yeah,
I can say that now because they're in jail. But then, having said that, they've probably got minions out there monitoring Kiwi to make sure that no one says anything bad about them.
Okay.
They may even put cameras in my house and monitor me. Which would be untoward. Like the guy from Cowra. Did you see this wonderful story?
Oh, now I couldn't make head or tail of this.
No, a former mayoral candidate, a guy by the name of Pat Morris, he installed cameras in one of his flats that he had going on, and he began filming them. And there was a woman in there who turned out to be having an affair with someone that he knew, and so he gave the footage of that to a few people to say, hey, look, this is what's going on. Obviously, she was incredibly upset about that, right, as you would. And then they discovered that, yes, there was cameras all through the house and he could watch what was happening in the flat in real time.
Ooh.
His justification was it was what any red-blooded man would do.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Wouldn't you, T-Raider?
Of course, if you've got a flat. He said, I wanted to have cameras in the house to make sure there was no damage being caused in real time as the woman, it could see the bedroom and the kitchen and the shower and all kinds of stuff. So, yes, he's being charged under new sort of camera rules, scandal mongering rules in terms of disseminating and filming private information.
You got to worry though that obviously that it was some sort of camera that couldn't be seen. Obviously, it was very small. These could be anywhere.
He had actually installed them. He'd fitted them in as motion sensors. The little, I guess they're the little white boxes that you put up in the corner of your room, so they could be fairly large. And yet, unbeknownst to people involved, there's motion sensors. So I suspect over the country, there will now currently be a flock of people all attempting to jimmy out their motion sensors that the landlords put in to make sure there aren't cameras in there.
Oh, I'm going to go check them in the studio now. I actually know there's plenty of cameras here anyway.
There's no sort of sitting there in your underpants from the casual days of DJing. Not now you're on the Skype and all of that kind of thing. You've got to have a modicum of decorum.
Isn't that funny? I'm sitting here going, oh, cameras and they're focusing on you. That's creepy. And I'm hang on. Hang on.
It's what happens. It's the world we live in.
It is. Thanks, T-Radar. We'll catch you next time.
Again in